Okay. So I'm parked next to a spray painted sign on the wall that says, "This is not a car park, fuck off." So, and we're in a pretty dodgy area, so hopefully I don't return to my car to find it on bricks. Also, no diagnosis yet, but I'm pretty sure I've got a hernia. Oh, and it's fucking sore. So that's not ideal. But you know, something like that would have previously made me depressed. But I'm just not bothered now, which is nice. So my plan is I'm going to read this one comment. In fact, I did already film this other comment. I might actually just add that into this one and go through it quickly. But I wanted to talk about a kind of topic that's been appearing frequently recently. So I'll do this one first. Jared Carlson Riffle says, "David, please read this." I will. "I've been experiencing this forgetting about my... Oh, I can make this bigger. That's handy. Forgetting about everything and leaving all of my confusion. Like it was only an interest that I was in like how you were talking about." Yeah, that's the conceptual mind. That's the mind, or the identification mind. Without that, without those thoughts rolling on and perpetuated by the sense of a me that persists across time, that relates to those thoughts about this, there's no confusion here. This isn't confusing. Confusion doesn't exist. I'm starting to question what I even am. Oh, sorry. I'm so bad at reading sometimes. What even am I worried about? Who I am is starting to come back. I feel I'm also starting to realise I'll never be able to figure out what I'm trying to figure out. And I need to accept that. Yeah, that's spot on. It's already figured out. In fact, it never needed to be figured out in the first place. What makes it seem like it has to be figured out is an imagined character that feels an imagined need to figure something out for itself. But without that character, without those thoughts, there's no need to figure anything out, or you could say it's already figured out, and it's just so simple. And then you can just let go of all that, and it just becomes effortlessly simple. When you just see that that's all thought, that's all an illusion. It's not necessary at all. I think I've known that, but I felt it was worth trying to know anyways, because it was knowing who I was and God, which meant a lot to me. But now I know I'll never be able to. It sounds depressing, but I'm excited to fully accept this. Yeah, the funny thing about this is even after this awakening, um, um, the need to figure it out persists. It can, even after that clear recognition, the thought imagined character then contextualizes fairly quickly this into a personal experience, because that's all it can do. It takes what it thinks it is in time and puts it into a narrative about how it relates to it, and that takes the form of figuring it out in the sense that I lost it, how do I keep it? Whereas in the actual recognition, because it's so non-conceptual and impersonal, the context isn't there for the character, so the character doesn't understand that, and it's clear, but this is where we get the half in half out experience, because it's not clear to the character, and the character didn't experience that. It wasn't an experience for the character, strangely enough, but the character thinks it was my experience, and then that starts this back and forth, half in and out struggle experience that is super common. And for me, to relate to what you're talking about, the beginnings of this channel, you see the initial video that I posted, the clear clarity there of the recognition, and then I go on to, albeit in a very complex kind of way, a very a very how would you say it? I'm not going to say insincere, because it is sincere. It's just that function is sneaky in what it does. It's interesting in how it works, because I continued to frame it as an experience. I continued to frame it as something that happened to me, and it wasn't like that, but that continued for a while in my earlier videos. And there's, if you were to view it from a personal position, it would seem like that what the character was doing was insincere, although I know it wasn't, because that's all it's capable of doing. But it pretends, it just kids itself on, and it can't do anything else, and it thinks it's real, but deep down something knows that it's not real, and it wasn't an experience, it didn't happen to me. And it gets more frantic in trying to insist upon its own existence, maintain its own reality, because it at some level it knows that, you know, this is the end for you. Separate character, this is the end. You know, you've just seen that you're at some level you're not really here in the way that you think you are, so it scrambles to try and recontextualize into a narrative, grip on to a real version of reality where it actually exists, and it can't do that. So you're saying in a way it's depressing, yeah, for the character, yeah, because I guess that's the whole dark night of the soul thing, because there is an acceptance, so you have to accept at some point, and this continues in the later stages of this, and it gets more and more, in my experience, you know, intense and emotionally a big hit to accept that, you know, this whole life that I was invested in, the way I thought it was, from the point of view of the character, isn't real. You know, it's ultimately it's not real. And then you start to confront death, and ultimately this, you know, you're forced to confront death head on. these questions, these existential questions, and after a certain point, there's no way back. And it's a hard pill. Oh, it's a hard pill to swallow. Oh, this is getting really bad. It's a hard pill to swallow, for sure. And I think that's what you're describing. So I'm excited to fully accept this. I haven't yet, because I have no idea why. I'm not sure why I haven't. I think it's because I'm scared to stop searching, because then what will I do? Yeah, I know. What you do? Nothing. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to do anything. Depends where you're talking to. If you're talking from the point of view of that illusory character, then it's never going to be accepted. This acceptance comes from somewhere else, I guess you could say. I think it's, but the searching is over, and I can't accept that. I'm going to say that you will accept it at some level. I mean, I think it's already accepted at some level, but then you get this combat between terrible way to put it. This tension between the illusory self, or what that seems to be, and its reality. Its reality has been seen through to a degree, but it continues to fight to maintain its own existence. And then the insight that you've clearly seen, which is, what you're describing, there's no other option but to accept this. In fact, it doesn't even need to be accepted by the character, because it's too clear. It's too clear. And accessing that, let's say, accepting that isn't something that happens in time. For me, it's just here now. It's just this. Maybe you could say, like, after this awakening clarifies, you're accepting it all the time. It's not like I have accepted this and then in my timeline, then after that things will be fine. It's accepted now, and then what appears that makes it seem like it's not accepted as a thought with belief and identification that appears now, and then you see that's just a thought, and it fades away, and then it's clear it doesn't need to be accepted. It's just how it is anyway. It's just this, which is undefinable, ungettable, inescapable, just here. Thank fuck you don't have to get it. Imagine that pressure, the amount of pressure that you'd be under to get it before the end of this lifetime. Nonsense. Recognise that guy. So, but the searching is over, and I can't accept that. It's almost like I lost. I'm so sad, honestly. I haven't felt depressed in a while, but it feels good. I'm not sure why. Yeah, it's a weird mix of emotions in it. What questions should I be asking myself? Hang on. What should I expect happens so I have no fear? What should I expect happens? Okay, I get it. What would you do if you were in my shoes? Thank you, David. So you could ask, what feels most real to, in your experience, what is the most real? What's undeniable? What's undoubtable? Because there will be, after this awakening, there will be, I think this is deepened for you, because last time I think we talked, or you posted a comment, this you express this recognition, and that's very similar to me. There was initial recognition, and then there was like another one, and the other one was to do with there still seems to be some reality to that function of the me, and there is for a while, but in the head, I mean, and that's seen through, and then it seems to you could say the ego takes a big hit and it reacts to that, and then let's say when you see that reaction is not you again, then it kind of calmed down for me. And you can ask what is undoubtable in your experience. I could say, and just orient yourself to that, and that feels most comfortable for you, although it might not be comfortable at times, or most relevant for you. So I can say in my experience now, this appearance is undoubtable. You know, that there are colours and shapes and seeming objects and form, a car, a church, that's undeniable, that's undoubtable. You'll have to figure that out. I don't have to accept that that's there. There's sound, another appearance, undeniable, and certain, simple, obvious. There is sensation. There's no question, no confusion. It might not be emotion that much now, but there are emotions that move. I guess the feeling of this experience would be peace right now, if you could call that an emotion, and that's certainly here. There are emotions that are more visceral. You feel them in the body. That's a sensation, similar to the feeling of my hands on the steering wheel. Undoubtable, undeniable, completely mysterious. Can't figure out what that is, don't need to. And then even, which I wouldn't probably recommend focusing on this, but even the experience of thought, what the thoughts talk about as a reality is doubtable. It's not real. Or you could argue it's real or not real. To me, it's not real. The mysterious experience of thought, the substance of that as it seems to appear in experience, is certainly something that's real, I would say. And focus on that, and watch for what the thought comes up to suggest about me and how I relate to the world, to my awakening, and that awakening as it spans across a timeline of past and future. See how that pulls you out of the certainty of this direct experience into something that's possible to doubt, something that's doubtable, something confusing. And just orient now to what's not confusing. And just keep doing that, and what's, let's say, real will become more and more obvious, more and more primary in your experience. And that doubt, that character, that identification, the story about me and how I relate to what should I do, this is confusing, I feel sad and it's my emotion, rather than just the sadness. And there's nothing wrong with it. You don't have to escape it. You just immerse yourself in that. There's wisdom in that experience. You go, and it's nothing that needs to be thought about. Go directly to that. That's what I would say to that. So I think I'm going to do this other comment here. If I can find it. But it's going to have to be fairly, there we go, fairly quick. So, how can I control so much energy I have and restlessness? And how do I get the freedom to be myself in this restrictive world? I'm going to say, do you need to control it? Is it even possible to control it in the first place? What is it that's telling you that it has to be controlled? And what's telling you you have to be yourself rather than you have to be yourself, rather than inherently yourself is what it is anyway. There's no need to be or become. That's just inherent. That's just effortless. And who is the world restrictive to? Someone in it separate from it? And what's making it look like that? What if you are the world? Then there can't be a restriction imposed on a separate character. Then suddenly everything's the way it's meant to be. And it's perfect. That doesn't mean that, the experience isn't intense sometimes. That doesn't mean that it's not, I'm in pain right now. That's not great. I have to drop out of the marathon that I was training for. That's disappointing. But is that a problem? It would only be a problem if there was a narrative about it, based from a separate point, separate from the experience, talking about it, talking about how I relate to it and what that means to me, how I have lost control of my health, lost control of the situation, letting people down, blah blah blah. Where is that a problem? That's a problem in time, in an imagined version of the world separate from this direct, immediate moment. In this direct, immediate moment, there's pain, but in that pain is wisdom. It's pure wisdom. Because if it wasn't for that, how am I going to know that there's an injury here? How am I going to control for the progression of that injury into something more serious? This is all conceptual stuff I'm saying, but it's just to highlight a point. The restlessness, the energy without the story about it, without the narrative about it and how it relates to me, what it means to me, I would say get in touch with that experience. Yeah, I guess you could call restlessness like an energetic emotion type thing, I suppose. You feel it in the body, you might feel it in the environment, how you perceive things. Go directly to that and watch for the narrative that comes out that says something about it, what I need to do about it, how I need to fix it, and ask it, does it need to be fixed? Or is it there to teach me something? Is there wisdom in that experience? That immediate feeling of restlessness, go right to that. Then you might see that doesn't last when you direct fully towards it, when you feel it fully, not separate from it. It comes and goes like everything else. It will come back, it will go. But what makes it seem like an inherent quality owned by this person who's inexperienced, who's moving through time, is the thought, the identification, the narrative. Without that, it's just a sensation that comes and goes. I would even suggest that narrative about it, moving it through time, character that's experiencing this quality of restlessness that's owned by me, that moves through time, perpetuates that, makes it into something not right, something worthy of suffering, something that needs to be fixed. And maybe it's trying to express how it needs to express. And this is just guesswork. It could express in a way that this flow of energy could be moved with, and it could lead to something incredible, some creative energy, some productive energy, some expressive, energy. It could lead to an expression that needs to express, and that could manifest in various different ways. Just depends on what you find resonates with you in terms of activities in life. Maybe it's a suppressed energy, suppressed by that narrative about this restlessness is not good. If you flow with it, see what happens. Let it overtake you. Let it move you if it needs to. Because even suppress our movement, this energy comes and flows, and we, you almost tighten yourself up to not express it. Like when I'm playing with my kids, if you were to see that, it's ridiculous. It look ridiculous, and I'm sure it looks ridiculous to some people that when I go to soft play, flailing about like a giant overgrown child, but that's just what I feel like I want to do. And to impose a social barrier on that says I shouldn't behave like this because I'm an adult and it's childish, is going to constrict everything. It's going to suppress that energetic flow, that inclination to bond with your kids, and it's not good for you. So, there are downsides to that, I suppose. Like, this hernia, if it is that, I'm pretty sure it is. Carried away doing things that I used to do, and the body's not capable of it anymore. So. But just flow with the restlessness when it comes. It compels you to move, but also direct your attention to that. Become interested in that experience, that visceral, energetic movement, and watch for the narratives popping up, the stories popping up that tries to explain it, tries to control it, tries to say that I need to fix this because it's not right. I guess that's what I would say to that. But I have run out of time, so thank you for the comments, and I'll talk to you next time.